One Transit. The men that are going to speak today, Marion and David. Oh, yes, sir, Mr. Moore, please.
I just want to say one thing. You were talking about the portal and how to file things and how easy that is to use. I know you're still trying to find that little thumbs up thing on a text message, so you're not the one doing it.
No, I'm not.
Okay.
No. Thank you. I'm speaking vicariously when I talk about how easy the portal is to use. If I move my lips and Stephanie Coulter is here talking, that would be more appropriate for how my office works. I think we all know that. So, do you have anything to say about your political future since you decided to open your mouth? I'm just curious. I didn't know. Okay, we just. All right, so One Transit is a significant issue. It's a significant issue in our community in Oklahoma City and Norman. It was the key factor for the Oklahoma City Mayor's State of the City address a couple Wednesdays ago, if you happen to be at that. And so we've invited David and Marion to come and speak, and I would usually kid Chapman, but he is such an impressive person. I want you, I really do. There's no joke coming on this, Chapman. I really want you to hear this. So this is part of Chapman's bio. Dr. David Chapman is professor of real estate and finance, serves as the chair of the Department of Finance at the University of Central Oklahoma. He's the author of Suburban, Reimagining the Suburban Downtown, which is right here, as well as several other publications. He's a founder of Realty One LLC, a innovative real estate firm. He serves as real estate commissioner with the Oklahoma Real Estate Commission. And I think he's been under like 3 different governors or something. And there's only 3 of those. How many? 3 of you?
7.
7. Okay, well, not as good as I thought. Okay. So, 2. Yeah. Kevin Stitt and Smith. He's director of the Regional Transport Authority. He sits on that commission. He was a city councilman, as you know, and served faithfully for 4 years. David's research focuses on urban resilience and counterterrorism in the built environment. But here's what also is incredible. He holds a PhD from Oklahoma State University, a master's certificate in real estate and construction management from the University of Denver, an MBA from Embry-Riddle Aeronautical University, a Bachelor of Science in Mechanical Engineering from Oklahoma State University. In addition, he's licensed by the FAA as a commercial pilot, certified flight instructor, and airframe and power plant mechanic. You might want to bring the resume up here so we can just compare them. That's incredible. I mean, what talent David has, and he's such a good man. He and his wife, Julie, are great friends of Hunter and mine, and we enjoy their generosity in their home, as well as his service to our community. So David is a wonderful human, and he's a close friend, and I so appreciate your investment in things like this. He got mad at me the other day because I was telling him I don't get this. I live in southeast Edmond, and I can be at a Thunder game in 22 minutes. I'm not going to drive to downtown Edmond and get on a train to go to the Thunder game. I might to go to an OU game. And he said to me, "This isn't for you." And I'm like, okay. I think you want my group to vote because we're the voting group, but nonetheless, Chapman, I love you and I appreciate you. Marion Hutchison is the vice chairman of the board of One Transit. He's a representative for the city of Norman. He came on in the beginning of 2019. He has a long history in regional transit, has a great expertise in this area. I didn't have all the details about your education, but I'm sure it's at least as good as Chapman's. His are from OSU, and you know how that goes. So, with that being said, David Chapman and Marion Hutchison, please help us understand the future of our community. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, I think. The good news is I brought Marion with me because Marion is by far the most knowledgeable person there is in our community about rail, commuter rail, and our transportation aspirations and our past. So I'm going to let him do a lot of this presentation, and then at the end, I'm going to give you my opinion from being in our community and being on the board of Edmond Alliance as to why I think it matters, and try to get some feedback from you. But I'm going to let Marion take this thing and get started. So, thanks, brother.
Well, it's great to be here. I did happen to come for a visit a few months ago and was excited to be able to get before your group. This is a really important and interesting topic. I live in Norman, but I have an office. I'm in the oil and gas business here in Edmond at 15th and Kelly. I've been commuting to Edmond 535 and 235 for almost 40 years. I try not to do that as much anymore because I've watched it change. I've watched it every day, you know. So Edmond and Norman have a lot to benefit from what we're gonna see today. Oklahoma City does too, but it's a little different being on each end as a suburban city, and there's a lot of important aspects that I think you guys are gonna appreciate. So just real quick, if you're not familiar with One Transit, we were formerly referred to as the Regional Transportation Authority of Central Oklahoma. We were created under state statutes in 2019. Currently, we've got 7 board members representing Oklahoma City, Edmond, and Norman. And our whole mission has been to work toward eventually being able to plan, fund, and construct a regional transit system. We're partnered with state and federal local agencies, and I'll just say importantly with ODOT, and if Director Gatz could be here today, he would stand here and tell you he completely endorses this project because they're essentially out of right of way on I-35, 235. The enormity of them adding an additional lane is just almost, you know, not feasible at this point. And one important thing, I talked to Don Sullivan about this because I heard about it from some of our consultants, but amazingly, and I can do the calculations and show you, but 1 commuter train or 2 going bi-directionally every 30 minutes can carry as much traffic as 1 lane of congestion on the interstate, which can basically move about at a maximum of 1,800 to 2,000 cars in an hour. So ODOT supports this. It's if you didn't see the state of the city, I urge you to go on and watch Mayor Holt's address about the coming growth and what's going to happen here. So let's get into that. We have always been in the last 10 years or so one of the fastest growing metros in the area. Oklahoma City's metro population is projected to hit 2 million by 2040, and 2040 is not that long away. In the construction, transportation, business planning, and development, it takes years, so you've got to really look ahead. Edmond's population, I don't know, many of you seen these numbers, you're supposed to be near 130,000. You're catching right up with Edmond. I'm wrapping Norman very quickly. And I want you to look over here on the right that we're right behind Salt Lake, and I'm going to talk a lot about Salt Lake here as we go forward. So why do we need this? It's just inevitable as a city grows, there's a tipping point you reach in population where congestion basically starts to affect quality of life and your economic growth and development potential. It happens in every city. We are one of the last metros of our size in this country that doesn't have a regional transit system. It's not because we made a mistake and didn't build one earlier. We probably didn't need it 20 years ago, but we're going in that direction. And if we don't have something substantially in place in the next 10 years, we're going to suffer for it, just like Austin has done. Over on the left, you can see last year, or 2024, Oklahoma City's total transit ridership was barely under 3 million. That includes CityLink, Norman Embark, and the whole Embark system. So we're way behind all of our peer cities, and it's just because we don't have that system yet. And we need this because congestion affects 2 things. It affects mobility, and lack of mobility affects quality of life and your ability to continue to have economic growth and development. Why now? These are a couple of charts. Mayor Holt actually asked me to put this in here, and he talked a lot about this in his address. But essentially, we've got an accelerating population growth. I mean, it's not going to slow down. Mayor Holt said, we can't fence people out. People want to move here because of the success of our cities and what we're doing here. I mean, people really like moving to Edmond, Norman, and Oklahoma City. And so what's happening, we've got a really accelerated growth in annual hours of congestion delay per commuter. And the reason it's at a higher acceleration rate than growth is once you hit that congestion point, you only have to add a few cars per hour at any time of the day, and the delay just goes up tremendously. And so those are actually photos I took. That's coming into Edmond during rush hour from downtown, and that's going toward Norman. And I mean, you can imagine what we're going to be looking like in 10 years from now. So mobility is a big thing for those who need it, those that are transit dependent, that don't have cars, for seniors, to be able to get around the community. We want to connect up the metro as a region to make it easier for everybody to get to the things that are important to them. But even for young people, and if you ask anybody under the age of 30, you're going to get a resounding response of like they support this because they tend to want to live in a little more urban dense environments. They don't necessarily want to own 2 cars or even 1 car, and they want transit, and that's a really big deal. A lot of what we're doing here isn't just for us, and I think the point about David, it's not just you, it's about our kids and grandkids and what's quality of life going to look like here in 2040 and 2050. So that's mobility, but it's not all about riding a train or a bus. Mobility, these systems generate economic development. They're huge economic development drivers. They bring in new business. They generate tax revenue for the cities that have the new business and the visitation. And just a couple of quick examples. Top left is a area in downtown Plano in 1980 something before a DART station. And on the right is the mixed use development that went in because people, especially younger people want to live around these stations. It gives them access to transit to get where they need to go. They have shopping, and you see this in every city where these systems get built. Down the bottom left is Denver Union Station before Denver RTD got put into operation, before all their new commuter rail and light rail. On the right is the station, and most of that downtown development is all residential. People wanting to live downtown and be able to have access to this. So the benefits go way beyond mobility. It's new residents, businesses. It enhances your current business and retail and entertainment districts with visitation. Property values go up, and I think most of you know we're the only state in the country where the city depends on sales tax revenue. Can't use that for warrant for their general funds. And growing and bringing in new residents is great, but I've watched it over the years, and no matter how many new people you bring in to go buy stuff, you never get ahead on your city budget because you have all the services and you have to police and fire. You want visitors to come in, travel in, spend their money, and go. And this is something that transit really helps do. TOD, real quickly, is just mixed use and planned mixed use housing areas, a little higher density around transit stations. And again, these typically develop and are really great amenities for people to live and for new kinds of retail development around all your transit stations. The Public Transit Association, who's been doing this stuff for decades, pretty much for every dollar invested in a transit system, you get a 5-to-1 return. So you're not going to pay the fares of the train aren't going to pay for everything, and they never do. We pay for our highway development; they don't bring a return. What you get are new jobs, you get economic development, you get increased tax revenues. There are just huge economic returns from investing in transit systems. It spurs economic growth. A couple of great quotes here. Economic development's about people. The better we move people, the more business we generate. And this is critical. Businesses have learned that young knowledge workers want to live around transit. Apple, most of the big companies, they've located their headquarters in cities and places where they've got a transit system because they're workers. That's what they're looking for. So it's something that's really great overall for economic growth. In the big picture for Oklahoma City, it also creates regional advantage. These are all the other cities around our area of the country and their transit systems that are being developed. Denver, Salt Lake, Charlotte, I squeezed it on the map just because it didn't go all the way over there, but they just passed a sales tax revenue to put in their new commuter rail line. Austin just passed a big tax referendum to build additional light rail and get their systems going. This is competition besides providing mobility for the residents. This is trying to attract businesses and be on the equivalent of your peer cities. So we really need to try to think about catching up because we're at that point where we need to do that. So let's look at Salt Lake real quick. In 1998, Salt Lake had no rail transit. They just had an old bus system, just like us. Red state, conservative voting public, car culture, didn't think people would ride it. So what did they do? They were getting the Olympics. And Mitt Romney was the governor. They applied to the FTA because the FTA likes to give out transit funding to Olympic cities to move people around. So they just said, let's ask for some money and put in a light rail line, from one of the venues over to here. They put it in, the Olympics left, people kept riding it. They applied for more. In less than 30 years, Salt Lake has built 150 miles of light rail, commuter rail line. It's one of the top rail transit systems in the country. Per capita, their ridership is out the roof. And so we're emulating this. They have commuter rail that runs from Ogden on the south, think Norman, Ogden's got BYU, to, Provo on the south, to Ogden on the north, which has got Weber State University. So they're anchored like Edmond. And then they've got light rail through downtown. We've been out there, we've made trips, taken people on tours. It's really a fabulous system. And so this is really we're just behind Salt Lake basically in growth. They were where we were about 30 years ago. In fact, in 2012, Ralph Becker, who was the mayor of Salt Lake, came and spoke at Mayor Hornet's State of the City address and talked all about what this has done for their city. Here's some of his quotes. The light rail and commuter rail system's been important in spurring private development. It's making a huge difference in where people concentrate their economic investments and relieving congestion. It's inspired growth with people moving to downtown as fast as Salt Lake can handle it. And people are using it every day, weekends, because they're tired of traffic. This is what we're gonna need, and this is the kind of system we want to build and the success we'd like. So let's look at their transit-oriented development. These are just a small sample of what's going on all around their stations. Since 1999, there's been $10 billion of private investment around their stations along all their lines. I mean, it's just incredible. People want to, live and become part of that urban culture, whether it's downtown or even suburban out, like in Farmington, where we went out and visited some really great TODs out in a little rural area. So our goals, mobility, connectivity, equity and accessibility, economic workforce development, sustainability and viability. We want to do this conservatively, pragmatically. We don't want to overspend.
Connected Future starts here with One Transit. Imagine a central Oklahoma where getting around is easier, safer, and more affordable. One Transit will shape the future of our region by linking people to work and play, businesses to talent and growth, and communities to opportunity and each other. From OKC to Norman to Edmond, we're building one unified vision for mobility, prosperity, and progress. One Transit, connecting you to what matters.
So here's our plan, if you haven't seen it. The main anchor of this is the north-south line, Edmond to Norman, anchored on each end by a pretty substantial population, suburban communities with large commuter populations, and both that have major universities. UCO has one of the highest commuting populations of any university in the metro or the state. And so this is a really well laid out system tied in through Oklahoma City. It would also have bus rapid transit lines, or what you kind of put in before light rail has ridership, before you've got that density out to Tinker to serve the Tinker workforce that lives throughout our metro, out to West Oklahoma City. And then eventually we would like to have a light rail line to the airport. Just like Salt Lake's got, we've ridden it into downtown every time we've flown out there. It's really fabulous. This is kind of the future. We're not going to do all this at once. It'll be built in pieces. The initial phase is the main commuter rail line connecting up Edmond and Norman, and this will be all tied through Santa Fe Intermodal Station. On the right, there's proposed about 11 stations. There'll be a North Edmond station, maybe somewhere around Sorghum Mill Road. downtown station, one at the Kilpatrick, all the way down through Oklahoma City, 63rd, Santa Fe, and then down in Norman, there'll be one near Tecumseh, downtown, and South Norman, and BNSF's agreed to let us put a station at Lindsay and the Duck Pond and run an OU home game day trains, as well as special event trains to Thunder games and other things. So this is the plan over a 30-year period of building this out. You can see how this will just connect up the entire region with all kinds of different modes of transit, so we can really serve the metro and give people transportation options. This isn't about trying to make people not drive their cars. It's part of building an option into your transportation network when you hit a certain population size with your city. So this is fun, real quick. Just kind of watch the right side. These are going to change. So it's amazing when you stop and look at all the things that this is going, we can connect up to. Major employment from UCO, the Capitol, Health Sciences, Tinker, the FAA, all the way to OU. Higher education, up and down the line. Dining and entertainment, whether people in Norman or Edmond want to take the train to downtown Edmond, or vice versa, to have dinner and a glass of wine and then ride the train back and not have to drive. These are just benefits. There's so many different benefits besides just taking the train to work. It's not really just what it's all about. Major sports venues. I think Mayor Holt really spoke a great deal about this, because one of the things in his State of the City address was about how we're becoming such a major sports draw for so many things. We don't have a way to get people to all these things. I mean, it's, we've got the Olympics coming. We don't even have a bus that runs from the airport to downtown, not even a bus. So these are things that we're gonna need to connect up with to be successful as this metro moves forward. Local festivals, you have arts festivals. Norman's got the Norman Music Festival. It's a way to bring a lot of people in and they don't have to drive. Area attractions, O'Connor, the fairgrounds, Remington Park. And part of this isn't just about trains. It's about expanding the entire bus system, new express service until the commuter rail line is running from Edmond and Norman to Oklahoma City, to the airport, additional stops, making connections from the train to our universities, having express service so our students can get back and forth from UCO and OU during the day quite easily. So now let's look at something that I think is real exciting, especially for Edmond and Norman. TexRail. TexRail was just put in by Trinity Metro, which is the Fort Worth operator for their little transit system. And they haven't had much. They're like Dallas's little brother. They finally came up with a way in which they could put in this commuter rail line. It's very similar to what we're talking about, that runs from downtown Fort Worth Station out toward Dallas, Fort Worth. And one of their stops is Grapevine. And ever since this line went in, it has set new records. And what's going on at Grapevine is what you all need to really look at. This is Grapevine Station, and this is the transit district they created along the rail line before the TexRail station was actually running. That big building in the back is a Venn Hotel, and that was actually all built in a kind of a new central station called Harvest Hall. That was all built before the first train even arrived, when they knew it was coming. This is attracting so many visitors on weekends and all their events that they've just seen incredible increases in business revenue and sales tax for the city. Now the people with the VIN are coming in and building this new VIN Reserve because the first one's so successful. They've got little brownstone condos going up around downtown, all around the station. It's just totally transformed what's happening in Grapevine, all for the benefit of everyone in the city. There's been an explosion in business with the arrival of the trains. Citywide sales tax revenue is up 23% since 2018. Businesses within a 5-minute walk have 38% gains. Property values up 95%. And these are just, some of the additional benefits. Even if you never think you'll ride the train to work, having this kind of visitation and business development in your community raises your sales tax revenues tremendously, which gets spread out throughout the whole city. So again, this isn't just about a train and riding a train. This is about economic development. And I threw this together. I'm not trying to say this is what you should do, but pictures really help give some visualization. So I superimposed the Vin Hotel, Harvest Hall, and some of the Plano TOD down around 2nd and Broadway, where probably your downtown station would be, just to give you an idea of the kind of things that could happen here. There's any number of ways to go about this or what it might look like, but it can be extremely transformative. Real quick, I'm almost to the end here, and then David can talk and we can answer some questions. I just want you to know we didn't just start this yesterday. This goes all the way back to 2005 with the fixed guideway study, and Mayor Cornett back in about 2010 putting together the first regional transit dialogue at ACOG to just bring some city leaders together to talk about what we're going to need in the future. And Randy's here today. Other than me, Randy's probably one of the few people that's been involved in this, and his wife Shannon, all the way back to this. Randy, you guys are so fortunate to have Randy involved in your city because he's been through this entire process. But these are all of the steps over 20 years it's taken through council members, mayors. I've worked with so many of your council members and mayors that have supported this. Elizabeth Weiner, Victoria Caldwell were involved in this in the very beginning, helping move this along to Transit Dialogue 2, a commuter corridors analysis, intermodal hub studies. We bought Santa Fe with $10 million that had been included in MAPS 3. We've got a hub we own down sitting there. It's the metros, it's our intermodal hub. We got the streetcar that's supposed to be the final link. If you ride downtown and you're on the commuter train, you can hop onto the streetcar to get to a Thunder game or to work. We moved forward with forming the RTA in 2019. We've done all the studies, we've done all the planning. I mean, essentially, if we hadn't started this when we did, and we were trying to start it now, we'd be at 2040 still trying to figure out what we're doing, and we'd be in the same place Austin ended up. And they've told us this over and over again, don't make the same mistake we did. We waited until it was too late to do anything. So this is really important. You know, we've invested in all of our cities a lot of time and money and effort into getting us to this point. The last thing we need to do is pass a referendum and fund it, and that's basically where we are. If we do that and we get a 5-to-1 return, you're talking about investing $5.5 billion over 15 years into the metro economy and generating just huge returns, jobs, new businesses, sales tax, wages. You can slice and dice it any way you want, but it's enormous. It'll be one of the largest infrastructure investment programs we've done in this area, maybe decades. I'm going to leave you with this. We had these were presented at Mayor Holt's, kind of for the first time at Mayor Holt's speech. These are some renderings of what this could look like. Typical commuter rail station in Edmond or Norman. We're all familiar with the overpass on 235, going to an OU game, and light rail to the airport. So I'm going to leave that slide up, and
all right.
I'll let David kind of.
Thank you. I'm going to talk. When Randy will start asking questions, I don't want to answer. Okay, first of all, let me tell you, I sent, Deshaun Eisel and I represent you, okay? We represent Edmond on One Transit, all right? We're one of the 6 right now, but to be 7 people that are on our board. I sent an email to Randy and the city manager, AJ, and I believe to all the city council people. And I was coming home from doing a presentation, basically with this slideshow, and it occurred to me, I'm a sales guy, and it occurred to me that I was selling rail, okay? And that's not what I'm there to do. What I'm there to do is to make sure that Edmond gets a fair share and a fair shake on this project, right? And that we get the intentions of the Edmond community, and most importantly, the city manager's office and our city council. So I just wanted to remind them that I understand and I remember that when I'm sitting on that board, I'm representing you, okay? And I'm looking out for your best interest when I'm on that board. And I want rail, okay? I know the benefits, and I want to tell you a couple of reasons why. But at the same time, I want to ensure that it's done correctly and that Edmond gets what Edmond wants out of it, okay? So, having said that, let me tell you just a few things before we take questions. And I also want to just thank Phil Frame. Councilperson Frame was on this board before I was. And so he did a lot of work on this, and I appreciate your work going into this as well. So, when I think about this, I teach my students about rail, and I teach it in this way. When I look at Edmond as having the Edmond, what I call the Edmond trifecta. Rail in itself, I don't feel, having taught it for years, is enough. Okay, you can use rail as a catalyst, but it's up to everybody in this room to make it pay. Okay, it will be what we make out of it as developers and as citizens. And we have an unbelievable opportunity, specifically in Edmond, Oklahoma, and I call it the trifecta. We've got an area in downtown Edmond that I live and that I work, I play, and I represented for 4 years. Okay, I know that district like the back of my hand. And we have an unbelievable opportunity that we have a TIF district, we have an opportunity zone, and we're getting ready to get rail, possibly. So, the TIF makes the development a possibility when it is very difficult to pencil, which is all of urban environment. Secondly, with an opportunity zone, it brings in investment. And third, it brings demand. And you put those three things together, and you've got a really, really special opportunity. And that's what we've got in Edmond, and specifically in downtown Edmond. But I'm just here to say, it's not enough. We've got to have development, transient-oriented development, mixed use. If I had rail in downtown Edmond right now, in my family, I could literally eliminate $12,000 a year right now. We could do one car, and we would do just one car. My wife works at 6th and Broadway in Oklahoma City. She will frequently ride the bus. Not the most pleasant experience. I ride it too. I meet her down there. I take it in the evenings, meet her down there, and then I ride home with her if she's driven. If she could ride that train, she wouldn't need a car every day. It's perfect for her. We would probably not ever be able to go without a car at all. We go to the lake on the weekends. That's just something we need a car for. But we could go down to one car, and that's a savings. There will be a lot of people, if the people in this room develop it properly, that will be able to go without any car at all. That's the beauty of transient-oriented development, where you build jobs, living facilities, retail around the stations. And that's the key to it. And I think that that's what the people in this room could do. And I think it's a huge opportunity for everybody in here. The next thing that I love, when I was on city council, I would say one of my number one complaints that people gave me was the train stopping in downtown Edmond. We went as far when we were on city council, and this was probably Josh's idea, not mine, that we issued a ticket to the train conductor for blocking the roadway for longer than 10 minutes or whatever the regulations say. Has anybody ever been held up at a train because it was just sitting there? Sometimes for an hour? I can only imagine what it would be like if you're in a fire truck and there's a fire, or an ambulance and there's somebody injured and you can't get by that intersection. Now we've kind of fixed that problem a bit with additional fire station 2, right? And some things, but that's got to be frustrating. We have that solution as a part of this project. We're going to double track to the north. We'll be able to take that train and stop them down there for passing trains. So that will no longer be a problem if we pass this referendum. So I think that's a big benefit to our community. The second one, and when I told Todd it wasn't for him, it really is for him. He just doesn't understand it yet. And the reason is because it will eliminate and make his commute in easier. It will take people off of the highways. And that's gonna make it easy, a lot easier, even for those east of I-35, to get in, because it will take people off of our highway system, and I think that that's important. So those are some of the things, just a few of the things that I like to bring up. We're kind of out of time, so what I want to do is take some questions, and here's some things from you. I want to know from you why this is important for or against for Edmond, so that I can help. So let's take some questions. I don't see Randall has anything. Does anybody else have anything?
Dave, tell us how the vote works.
Okay, Greg, you want to talk about the vote?
Sure. So it was set up as a district, so it's a district-wide vote. So essentially, it's not each city votes separately. It'll be a single vote, all in, all out. All of it, it's never been done before in the state. Now, this is quite a unique project, let alone the three cities working together on something for their own mutual benefit. You know, we didn't used to do that. So it'll be all at once. It'll be a single vote.
Between Norman and Oklahoma
Edmond
City.
and Oklahoma City, yes, sir.
So what's going through your head right now is the vote could actually pass, probably could pass, without Edmond actually passing it, and that's absolutely true. And that's one of the things that that Barry and Phil are going to have to think about and deal with, right? Is that we could not get 50% in Edmond and it still pass, and we would still get a train.
Could you talk a little bit about funding, because it looks like there's 2 potential stations in Edmond, 4 in Norman, and 5 in Oklahoma City. Is it gonna be a universal cost, or is Edmond gonna bear a different cost than Oklahoma City or Norman?
It's a great question.
It's just by your tax base, so it's proportional.
Ours will likely be significantly lower than the other 2.
Yeah, and I'll just say this, I don't mind saying it out loud either. I think Edmond and Norman are getting a pretty great deal because proportionally, Oklahoma City's gonna pay for more than half of that commuter rail line. And they're gonna get great benefits because they're corporations downtown. They want our people that live in Norman commuting, they wanna help their people get there. But we got a lot of opportunity here. They're gonna pay for more than half of this line. I just wanna say, there's been some issues, people probably read about DART, an argument, people getting out. When DART was set up, it was on a city-by-city vote, and Dallas had the majority on the DART board. It could just pass by simple majority everything they wanted to do. And we didn't set up our RTA that way. We are set up with a weighted vote. No, Oklahoma City on its own cannot go just do things and dictate. It requires high percentages. So we're set up pretty well to try to make sure this is all financially equitable, even appropriated equitably.
One more thing, let me say, because you may have questions on it. This is likely, depending on our city council, to be a 1 cent sales tax. Now, it will cost us, we predict, and Evans from UCO is our economist, and they've done predictions that say that it's going to cost for the commuter rail in this system about 0.75% or 0.75 cent. The other quarter is going to go back into each community. So Edmond, if the city council chooses to do it this way, would receive 0.25% to be spent on transportation other than the commuter rail.
For Edmond, it's about $6 million a year would go back directly to Edmond to be used for road, streets, infrastructure improvements that all fit within there, which is pretty, until a year ago, that's like doubling your street budget.
And our city council will have an offer made to them that we will take over their transit, which would save them about another $2 million a year, probably closer to 3.
We pushed this really hard with Oklahoma City and everybody because Norman has an 8 cent temporary sales tax for paper, their embark system, that when they passed it, the wording said, until such time as there's a regional transit authority providing bus service. Well, right now, when we start, Embark will be providing it, so we had to get rid of that. We can't go to Norman and have them already have an 8 and it's still there. So, and then we thought it was really important for Edmond and Norman to have their transit funds paid for by the RTA. And so both of those cities, if this passes, what you're spending out of your general fund, it's gonna get paid for, and that money gets free to go up to whatever.
Barry, do you have a comment?
You answered.
Okay, all right.
Dave,
Yeah,
one quick thing, I know Marion, I was on the trip to Salt Lake City and got Marion and the governor. I know you and Deshaun will make sure they carry this out, I promise. They've got to help us, we have to redo that intersection at Sorghum and Broadway. We have to have a citizen pedestrian bridge over Second Street connecting to downtown. If people are gonna get off at that stop, where the main stop's scheduled to be. And that will be part of one transit obligation, not the city of Edmond.
Yeah, I completely support that. If your main station downtown's on the south side of Second, and you've got the bus trans from the north, as well as just people wanting to get into downtown and not have to cross that, you need a pedestrian bridge.
And I would say that that's a strong if it is north or south. That will be up to the city manager's office and the city council. So we're running out of time. Randall?
All the other rapid transits that you've shown us, does the federal government subsidize those?
Yes. This would be.
How much would ours be subsidized?
The FTA, this would be a New Starts grant. At this point, it's about 50%. They pay for 50% of that system.
And one important
And then there's annual money.
You know, building it's easy.
Right.
Running it for the next 100 years is very costly.
Now, the transit.
So my question is, who is going to subsidize the ongoing operations and maintenance? Does the federal government do that?
It's paid for with federal money.
Okay.
And Randy, how much do you guys get currently just subsidized for operations?
50% of our operations.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then we pay the rest. That's part of that's funded with the sales tax is the operations. We're not going to ask for more from anybody to operate it.
But I keep hearing that these are running at deficits everywhere they're in place. And I keep
Well,
hearing.
the fares do not pay for them.
Well, I know that.
Right.
But the federal government at some point is gonna have to quit printing money. And they're gonna start not subsidizing things that they've just willy-nilly thrown money at. I love the concept here.
Right.
My concern is, as a taxpayer, when the federal government, and I say when, I don't think it's if, I think it's when, they cut subsidies to everything they can think of
Right.
because they're broke, they're already broke. Then what's the cost gonna be to the municipality?
Well,
And can we afford it?
It won't just hurt that, it'll be highways, how you can get federal money to figure highways.
I understand that.
But I'll say one thing that I think is really important, because most people don't know this. This is really important to think about. Every time you buy a tank of gas, everybody knows you're paying a federal fuels tax, right? Every time you spend money to fill up your car. Do you know that like 15 or 20% of your federal fuels tax you pay goes to the FTA? And that money goes to all these other cities who have built all these systems. You know how long we've been paying federal fuels tax in this metro and how much we've paid in? We don't get that back. We're never gonna get it back because we don't have a system. So we've actually built part of Salt Lake's, part of Dallas's, with our tax money. Every time you fill up, think about that. You're helping build all these systems, and we don't have one. So just a point.
Give us a date when you think it might come to a vote if you got a crystal ball.
The next 9 months.
It's up to the city council, three city councils.
That's a good guess.
All right,
Thanks,
one more
guys.
question. Did you have one?
Yeah. What are the chances of our presidents, the boards of our two public universities on each end of the line publicly endorsing this? And is this essential for the financial future enrollment for UCO and OU?
President Harris has already said they're ready to put out a letter of support as soon as we want it. They're
And
fully behind it.
before I took it, I called our president and I asked him if he wanted me to do this, and he said yes. So I don't think he would have said no if he didn't, but, and I'm getting ready to ask him for his support.
We need him to be louder with that support, because this will greatly benefit UCO.
Absolutely, I agree. So,
Thanks, guys.
all right, thank you.